When we think about corruption, we usually picture a few bad apples. But what if the entire orchard is rotten? Today, we're going to break down a chillingly sophisticated model where criminals don't just bribe officials, they literally take over the entire system of a city, almost like they're opening up a corporate franchise. Just imagine hearing those words for a second. That's a threat, but it wasn't delivered by some cartel boss. It was delivered by a police officer. And that's not a hypothetical. That's a real quote from an actual incident in El Paso. A mother gets caught shoplifting, she has a small amount of drugs, and she's threatened with a life sentence. So the question is, why? Why would police use that level of absolute terror for a relatively minor crime? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out. To get to the bottom of this, you have to understand that this threat wasn't just some random, isolated event. No, it's a symptom. It's a street-level tactic that actually pulls back the curtain on a much, much larger and hidden system of control. This right here is the whole key. Mentioning fentanyl, it was never really about the drug itself. It was about invoking this invisible, terrifying threat. It's a psychological tool, really. It's designed to create absolute fear, to make sure that person complies, that they stay silent, and that they become a pawn who would never, ever dare to challenge the system. Okay, so we've seen the symptom on the street. Now, let's look at the diagnosis of the system. That officer's threat, it starts to make a terrifying kind of sense when you stop seeing corruption as random acts and you start seeing the entire city as a criminal franchise. It's called the Plaza model. And really, it's a sophisticated business strategy. Instead of waging some big, bloody war, a criminal organization just captures the key gatekeepers of a city's legal system. Think of it less like a military conquest and more like a hostile corporate takeover. And this chart really lays out the difference, doesn't it? Old corruption was decentralized, a cop here or a judge there, each taking a bribe when they could. But this new franchise model, it's vertically integrated. The goal isn't just an opportunistic payday anymore. It is total systemic control. So how does this franchise actually work on the ground? Well, it's built on three core pillars that lock together to create a system that's almost unbreakable. So first, you have what's called the franchise. This is a small group of compromised police who basically act as the cartel's eyes, ears, and muscle. Then you have the unlock. That's a judge who uses their power to suppress evidence and make sure the franchise's people stay out on the street. And finally, you get the final lock. That's the prison system, which gets turned into a profit center and a place to permanently get rid of anyone who might make trouble. Now, if that structure sounds terrifying, hold on, because it's about to get a massive technological upgrade. AI is coming, and it's poised to make this system of control permanent and almost impossible to even detect. You have to understand, AI becomes a huge force multiplier for these corrupt systems. So, instead of obviously targeting their opponents, they can use predictive algorithms to justify a constant stream of random traffic stops. They can use it to map out the entire network of anyone who might resist them. They can even use these AI risk assessment tools to recommend ridiculously high bail just to keep people locked up before they even see a trial. And this phrase, this is the ultimate shield. It creates perfect, plausible deniability. Any accusation of political targeting is met with this simple, cold, and seemingly objective answer. Hey, we're just following the data.
The end result is what you could call a digital panopticon. It's a self-policing system where any potential threat to the corrupt franchise can be identified, isolated, and completely neutralized before it even has a chance to get organized. It's a permanent lock on power. Okay, so if this is really happening, you're probably asking yourself, where is the federal government in all this? Why aren't they just shutting this down? Well, the problem is actually baked into the very way our federal agencies are structured. See, here's the issue. The FBI is focused on public corruption cases. The DEA, their lane is narcotics. DHS is focused on the border. Every agency stays in its own lane. There's no single agency with the mandate to look at the whole picture, to see the slow, creeping, systemic takeover of an entire city's government. The problem just falls right into the gaps between them. And making this all even harder is just the sheer scale of the thing. There are roughly 18,000 different, fragmented, independent law enforcement agencies across the U.S. There's just no way a centralized federal body can monitor them all for this kind of slow-moving institutional rot. So, here's the bottom line. Our federal system is designed to react to events, a big drug bust, a bribery scandal. It is fundamentally not built to detect a process, the slow, quiet capture of a city's entire operating system.
But if technology is creating the lock, it might also provide the key. The source material for this actually proposes a pretty strategic high-tech solution to fight back. What this does is it sets up a new kind of AI arms race. Their weapon is plausible deniability, using complicated algorithms to hide what they're really doing. So our weapon has to be mathematical proof, using a superior truth AI that can see the patterns and cut right through all the lies. And there's actually a name for this strategy, a pilot program called Operation Glasshouse. It's designed specifically to use technology to make a captured city's operations completely transparent, like, well, a glasshouse. It's basically a three-phase plan. Phase 1 is the digital X-ray. An AI remotely audits everything. Patrol logs, court records, you name it, looking for the mathematical proof of capture. Phase 2, you send in teams for a surprise physical audit of evidence lockers and financial records. And Phase 3 is the kill switch. You use the power of the U.S. Treasury to completely freeze their funding. The enforcement here is just brilliantly simple and incredibly powerful. It bypasses all the local politics. If a captured police department refuses to allow a full financial and operational audit, the federal government just turns off the money spigot. No more grants, no more equipment, no more cash. So, all of this brings us to one final, really big question. We've seen how this kind of systemic capture works. We've seen how a new generation of technology could be the key to exposing it. All of this proves that this kind of deep corruption leaves a massive digital trail. So the only real question left is, if the footprint is bare, why aren't we following it?